Good morning, y'all. I want to get straight into it this morning because what I am looking at in the model data right now is not a one-day story, it is not a weekend story, and it is absolutely not a we'll keep an eye on it story. What I am looking at is a pattern, a multi-day, multi-system, multi-hazard atmospheric pattern that is going to keep this country on edge from now through the middle of next week. And I want to make sure every single person watching this video understands what is developing, why it is developing, and what it means for the communities that are going to be directly in the path of it. Because here is what I have learned over all my time watching and covering severe weather. Patterns are more dangerous than individual storms. A single storm gives you one event to track, one warning to respond to, one window of danger to survive. A pattern gives you back-to-back events with not enough recovery time in between, with communities that are still dealing with damage from round one when round two arrives, with people who are exhausted and let their guard down right at the moment when they can absolutely not afford to. That is what this week is shaping up to be, and y'all need to know about it right now. Let me explain what is happening in the atmosphere at the large scale, because I genuinely believe that understanding the big picture here is what is going to make the difference between people treating this like just another week and people treating it with the level of urgency it deserves. The dominant feature driving everything that is about to unfold is a powerful upper-level trough, a deep southward dip in the jet stream that has been amplifying over the western United States and is now in the process of digging further south and east across the country. Now, when I say the trough is amplifying, what I mean specifically is that the contrast between the cold air in the trough on the western side and the warm air ridging up on the eastern side is increasing. The atmosphere is becoming more exaggerated, more extreme on both ends simultaneously. The ridge over the eastern U.S. is pumping warm. Gulf-sourced air northward and building temperature anomalies that are running 10 to 15 degrees above normal for mid-April across a broad corridor from the southern plains into the Tennessee Valley. Meanwhile, the trough is pushing cold, unstable air southward behind it. That boundary, that collision zone between the warm, moist, unstable air ahead and the cold, forcing mechanisms behind, is exactly where severe weather lives. And that collision zone is going to be active not once this week, but repeatedly. System after system, round after round, day after day. The first concern I want to walk y'all through is what the Storm Prediction Center is already flagging for Sunday into Monday. The guidance, and I want to be clear that there is genuinely strong agreement between the major models on this. The GFS and the European are telling the same story. Shows a significant severe weather setup developing across Texas, Oklahoma, and points northward into the lower Missouri Valley as a mid-level jet of 50 to 60 knots rips across the southern plains during the afternoon and evening hours. That kind of mid-level jet, when it is placed over the top of a moist and unstable boundary layer with surface dew points already returning to the low to mid-60s across North Texas and Oklahoma, creates the kind of deep layer wind shear environment that turns ordinary thunderstorm development into organized, rotating, supercell thunderstorm development. The SPC's day 4 through 8 outlook is already flagging Sunday, specifically as a day where, and I'm going to quote this carefully because I want y'all to hear the language the forecasters in Norman are using. Supercells with large hail, wind damage, and a tornado threat would be possible in areas that destabilize the most. That is not boilerplate language. That is forecasters at the Storm Prediction Center looking at a Sunday afternoon setup and seeing supercell tornadoes in the medium range. That is meaningful, and it deserves your attention right now, not Sunday afternoon when storms are already on the radar. But here's the part that makes this week genuinely different from a single-day event, and it is the part that I want to spend real time on because I think it is being underestimated by a lot of people right now. The SPC's day 4 through 8 discussion, which covers the period from Saturday through next Wednesday, flags not one, not two, but 3 distinct rounds of severe weather potential across the south-central United States. Saturday sees scattered severe development across West Texas and the southern High Plains. Sunday sees the more organized supercell threat across Texas, Oklahoma, and into the lower Missouri Valley. And then Tuesday is the day that is making me sit up straight when I look at the model output. The western trough is finally forecast to close off and move into the southern plains in full force, with a mid-level jet digging into the region over the top of a moist, unstable air mass that, by that point, will have had 2 days to recover and reload. Some model solutions for Tuesday are showing a substantial severe threat. That word, substantial, is not casual. That is forecasters in Norman using careful language to say that Tuesday could be a day where the setup is not marginal, not limited, but genuinely serious across a corridor that right now includes portions of Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Arkansas, and Missouri. 3 rounds in the same general corridor over 5 days. That is a pattern. And patterns demand respect. Now, I want to talk about something specific that has changed in how we communicate about severe weather setups like this one, because it is genuinely relevant to how you should process and respond to the outlooks you are going to be seeing this week. The Storm Prediction Center launched a new system at the beginning of March 2026, something called Conditional Intensity Groups, or CIGs, and it fundamentally changes what a severe weather outlook tells you. Under the old system, the SPC could tell you how likely severe weather was to occur in a given area, but it could not differentiate between a setup where a few weak tornadoes were possible and a setup where violent, long-track EF4 or EF5 tornadoes were the primary concern. The hatched area on the outlook covered both scenarios with the same symbol and the same language. CIGs change that. Now, the SPC can not only tell you that tornadoes are possible, they can tell you how intense those tornadoes are likely to be if they form. CIG level 2 for tornadoes means that any tornado that forms has the potential to be particularly dangerous and violent, not just a brief spin-up. CIG level 3 means the environment is supportive of the most extreme tornado events. When you see those indicators on the outlooks this week, and I expect you will see them, particularly for the Sunday and Tuesday setups, I want you to treat them with the full weight that they deserve. This is not the SPC being dramatic. This is the SPC giving you better, more precise information than you have ever had access to before. Use it. Let me get specific about the geographic areas I am most focused on for each round of this pattern, because I think specificity is what helps people make real decisions rather than abstract awareness of a general threat. For Saturday, the primary area of concern is West Texas and the southern High Plains. The region from Lubbock to Midland, Amarillo south toward San Angelo. Cape values of around 1,000 joules per kilogram combined with 0 to 6 kilometer shear in the 30 to 40 knot range is going to be sufficient for organized severe thunderstorms capable of large hail and damaging wind gusts Saturday afternoon into the evening. This is not the highest end setup of the week, but it is real, and it is the opening act of a 5-day performance that gets more intense as it goes. For Sunday, I'm most focused on the corridor from the Dallas-Fort Worth area northward, through Oklahoma City, through Tulsa, into Joplin and Springfield. If the 50 to 60 knot mid-level jet verifies in the southern plains during Sunday afternoon, and multiple model solutions are showing this, that corridor could see discrete supercell development with all hazards, significant tornadoes, baseball-sized hail, and destructive straight-line winds. People in Fort Worth, in Denton, in Wichita Falls, in Lawton, in Oklahoma City, in Tulsa, please watch the Sunday forecast closely. This is a setup that could go from quiet to actively dangerous in a very short window if the models are right. And then Tuesday. Y'all, I want to spend a moment on Tuesday because it is the day in this sequence that has the most uncertainty attached to it, but also, in some model solutions, the highest potential severity. When a fully closed upper-level low tracks into the southern plains with a strong associated surface, low developing ahead of it over the central Great Plains, the wind profiles that result in the warm sector ahead of the system can become extraordinarily favorable for violent supercell development. The ingredients that matter: directional wind shear from the surface through the lower levels, speed shear through the mid-levels, jet streak entrance regions at the upper levels, providing large-scale lift. All of those ingredients appear in some model solutions for Tuesday, in a configuration that forecasters in Norman are already watching carefully enough to use the word substantial in their public discussions. The specific corridor I'm watching for Tuesday runs from the Texas Panhandle in southwestern Kansas, southeastward through central Oklahoma, western Arkansas, and into southern Missouri. That is a corridor that includes Amarillo, Wichita, Oklahoma City again, Fayetteville, and Springfield. The fact that some of these same communities may be dealing with impacts from Sunday's round makes Tuesday even more operationally complicated for emergency managers and for individuals. Exhausted people make worse decisions. Damaged structures are more vulnerable to a second hit. That is the hidden danger of a pattern like this one. The Climate Prediction Center is flagging a slight risk of heavy precipitation for portions of the southern and central plains and the Mississippi, Tennessee, and Ohio valleys for the Thursday through Saturday window of next week. That is after the 3 active severe weather rounds have already moved through. What that means practically is that the ground across a broad corridor of the central United States is going to be progressively saturated as this week goes on. Each round of storms drops additional rainfall on ground that is already wet from the previous round. The river systems, the Red River, the Canadian, the Arkansas, the upper sections of the Mississippi, are going to be responding to cumulative rainfall totals across their watersheds that in some areas could reach 4 to 8 inches over the full 5 to 7 day period. And when those rivers respond, they respond on a time delay, sometimes hours, sometimes days after the rainfall has already ended. That means flooding along the major river systems of the south-central United States is a threat that is going to linger well beyond this week's severe weather pattern. potentially into the latter half of April. If you live near any creek, stream, or river in the southern plains or mid-south, please be paying attention to river stage forecasts from your local National Weather Service office throughout this week and into next week. Do not just watch the sky, watch the water. There is one more element of this week's pattern I want to address before I close out this forecast, and it is something that the broader weather community is going to be increasingly talking about as we move through spring 2026. The large-scale atmospheric context driving this multi-day severe weather pattern, the amplified ridge trough configuration, the dramatically enhanced Gulf moisture return, the anomalously strong jet streak positioning, is not happening in a vacuum. It is happening in the context of sea surface temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico and the subtropical Atlantic that are running well above historical averages for this time of year. And it is happening against the background of a Pacific Ocean that is in the early stages of what multiple long-range modeling systems are suggesting could become one of the strongest El Niño events in decades. But I will tell you this. Warm Gulf waters mean more moisture available to severe weather systems. Enhanced moisture means more fuel. More fuel means the atmosphere has more to work with when the dynamics are favorable. And the dynamics this week are favorable. All of that context matters. It means that what we are watching develop this week is not an anomaly. It is a preview of what this severe weather season may have in store for the south-central United States. Now here's how I want y'all to use this information. Not just to absorb it, but to act on it. This is a pattern week, which means your preparation cannot be a single act at the beginning of the week that you check off and forget about. You need to stay engaged with the forecast every single day, Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, because each system is going to look different as it gets closer and the models resolve the details. Watch the Storm Prediction Center outlooks. Understand what the new conditional intensity groups mean when they appear on those outlooks. Know where your shelter is before each of the active days this week, not in the moment when a warning is issued. Make sure the people in your life who are in the affected areas, and that corridor this week stretches from West Texas all the way through the Mid-South and into the lower Ohio Valley, know what is developing. And please, for the overnight rounds that are going to accompany some of these systems, have y'all call set up before you go to sleep. Because the Monday night and Tuesday overnight windows, in particular, have the potential to bring active severe weather to communities while most people are asleep. And a phone call to your number is the only thing that is guaranteed to cut through sleep mode and get you moving to safety in time. Y'all call is $14.95 for a full year of coverage, and the link is right there in the description below this video. Please set it up before the first round of this pattern arrives. Before Sunday, today. I'm going to be covering this pattern every single day this week. Daily forecast updates every morning, and I will be going live every time a significant severe weather event is in progress. Subscribe to this channel right now if you are not already subscribed, and hit the bell so that you get the notification the moment I go live. Because in a pattern week like this one, real-time coverage matters as much as the morning forecast does. Share this video with your family and friends who are in Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Arkansas, Missouri, Tennessee. They need to know this pattern is developing, and they need to know it now, not Tuesday afternoon when the second or third round is already firing. The Y'all Squad, this community right here, is how that information reaches the people who need it most. Share it, spread it. Let's make sure everyone is ready. Stay safe out there, y'all. I love every single one of you, and I will see you in the next update.